The restaurant hummed with life, a symphony of clinking glasses, bubbling laughter, and overlapping conversations. The air carried the warm, savory scent of roasted garlic and fresh herbs, mingling with the faint temps of red wine. Families and friends leaned over candlelit tables, their voices weaving a tapestry of shared moments. But for Daniel Harper, the world narrowed to a single point across the crowded dining room. "Daddy, that waitress looks like Mum," Ethan whispered, tugging at his father's sleeve with small, insistent fingers. Daniel turned, his breath catching. The woman stood near a table, balancing a tray of drinks with practiced ease. Her silhouette, her posture, the way her dark hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, it was all achingly familiar. She turned slightly, and her face came into view. High cheekbones, a delicate nose, and eyes that held a haunting blend of warmth and quiet sorrow. She was the mirror image of Clare, his late wife, who had been gone for 2 years. Daniel's heart stuttered, the noise of the restaurant fading to a dull roar. "Dad, look," Ethan urged, his 7-year-old voice trembling with a mix of awe and confusion. His wide brown eyes, so much like Clare's, were fixed on the waitress. Daniel couldn't speak. Memories flooded him: Clare's laughter, her gentle touch, the way she'd hum softly while cooking in their small kitchen. And then, the crushing silence of the day she was taken from them, a car accident that had left him and Ethan adrift in a world without her light. He had stood by her grave, unable to fathom a future without her, yet here was a woman who could have been her twin. The waitress noticed his stare. She approached their table, her movements graceful, her smile polite but curious. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice soft yet clear, striking a chord deep within Daniel. It wasn't just her appearance, even her voice echoed Clare's with that same gentle cadence. Ethan tugged at Daniel's sleeve again. "Dad, she really looks like Mom." Daniel swallowed, his throat dry. "I'm sorry," he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. You look so much like someone we knew, someone very dear to us." The waitress tilted her head, her brow furrowing slightly. "I'm Lauren," she said, her tone warm but cautious. "Is there something I can help you with?" "Lauren," Daniel repeated softly, the name settling like a weight in his chest. He glanced at Ethan, whose eyes were wide with hope, then back at Lauren. "I'm Daniel, and this is my son, Ethan. You remind us of my wife, Clare. She passed away 2 years ago." Lauren's expression softened, a flicker of empathy crossing her face. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said. "That must be incredibly hard." Daniel nodded, unable to tear his eyes away from her. The resemblance was uncanny beyond coincidence. Clare had been an orphan, her past a mystery she'd spent her life trying to unravel. Could this woman, Lauren, be connected to her in some way? The thought sent a shiver down his spine. "Dad, what if she's Mum's sister?" Ethan whispered, his voice barely audible but brimming with excitement. Lauren's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Sisters," she echoed, glancing between father and son. "I don't have any siblings. I grew up in an orphanage. No family, just me." Daniel's heart pounded. Clare had grown up in an orphanage too, always searching for a family she'd never found. "Where were you born?" he asked, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions within him. Lauren hesitated, her fingers tightening around the edge of her tray. "I don't know exactly," she admitted. "My documents only list my name and birth date. My parents, they're a mystery." "And your birthday?" Daniel pressed, his voice barely above a whisper. "June 12th, 1989. She replied. Daniel's breath caught, the same as Clare's. He felt the room tilt, the weight of the coincidence pressing against his chest. Clare had always felt a void, a sense that part of her was missing. Could Lauren be that missing piece? "Are you okay?" Lauren asked, her brow creasing with concern as she noticed the change in his expression. Daniel nodded slowly, though his mind was racing. "It's just, Clare, my wife, was born on the same day. She was an orphan too, and you look so much like her. It's unbelievable." Lauren's gaze softened, a flicker of something hope, perhaps passing through her eyes. "I've always wondered about my family," she said quietly. "I tried searching, but there were never any leads. Just an emptiness I couldn't explain." Ethan, unable to contain himself, piped up, "What if Mum was your sister?" Lauren froze, her eyes darting to the boy. "Sister," she murmured, as if testing the word. She looked at Daniel, her expression a mix of disbelief and longing. Do you really think that's possible? Daniel took a deep breath, steadying himself. I don't know, he admitted. But the similarities, your appearance, your birthday, the orphanage, it's too much to be a coincidence. We'd need to be sure. Maybe a DNA test. Lauren's eyes widened, a mix of fear and hope swirling within them. A DNA test, she repeated, her voice barely audible. That's a big step. I know, Daniel said gently. But you deserve to know the truth. We all do. After a long pause, Lauren nodded. Okay, I'm willing to try. Ethan clapped his hands, his face lighting up. Yay. That means I might have an aunt. Lauren managed a small smile, though her eyes remained clouded with uncertainty. What if it's not true? She asked softly. What if this is all just a mistake? Daniel placed a reassuring hand on her arm. No matter what the test says, we're here for you. You're not alone in this. They agreed to meet the next day for the test. Lauren offered to take her break soon, and they stepped out into the restaurant's quiet courtyard, where the soft rustle of leaves and distant city sounds provided a calming backdrop. The air was cool, tinged with the scent of blooming jasmine. So, who do I remind you of? Lauren asked, her voice tentative but curious. Daniel hesitated, then spoke. Claire was everything to us. She was kind, vibrant, always searching for something she couldn't name. When I saw you, it was like seeing her again. Not just your face, but the way you move, your voice. It's like she's standing here. Lauren's expression shifted, a flicker of recognition crossing her face. I've always felt like something was missing, she confessed, like there was a part of me out there, somewhere, but I never had any clues to follow. Daniel's heart ached. At her words, Claire had said something similar, countless times. Did you ever try to find your family? He asked. Lauren nodded, her gaze distant. I did, but there was nothing. No records, no photos. The orphanage barely kept track of us. I have a few vague memories, a lullaby, maybe, or a woman's voice, but nothing solid. Ethan, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. We have pictures of Mum. Maybe you can look at them. Lauren's face lit up, a glimmer of hope breaking through her uncertainty. I'd like that, she said softly. Daniel pulled out his phone, his hands trembling slightly as he scrolled through his gallery. He found a photo of Claire from their early days together, taken at a beach during sunset. She was laughing, her hair whipped by the wind, her eyes bright with joy. He turned the screen toward Lauren. She leaned in, her breath catching. Aunts, unbelievable, she whispered, her voice trembling. She looks just like me. Daniel shook his head gently. That's Claire. But you're right, you're like 2 drops of water. Lauren traced the outline of the photo with her finger, her eyes glistening. If this is true, why were we separated? Why didn't anyone tell us? Daniel's chest tightened. I don't know, he admitted. But if you're willing, we can find out together. The next morning, Daniel and Ethan arrived at the restaurant to pick up Lauren. Daniel carried a referral for the DNA test, his heart heavy with anticipation. Lauren stepped out, her face pale but determined. Are you ready? Daniel asked. She nodded, though her hands fidgeted nervously. I think so. The lab was sterile, the air sharp with the scent of antiseptic. The process was quicker, simple swab, a few forms, but the weight of it hung over them like a storm cloud. Afterward, to ease the tension, Daniel suggested a nearby cafe. They settled into a cozy booth, Ethan flipping through the menu with restless energy. Lauren watched him, a small smile forming. He's a sweet kid, she said softly. He's got his mom's heart, Daniel replied, his voice thick with emotion. Claire would have loved to see him like this, so full of life. Lauren's gaze softened. I wish I'd known her. The days that followed were agonizingly slow. Lauren checked her phone obsessively, though she knew the results wouldn't come for at least a week. Daniel did the same, hiding his anxiety from Ethan, who seemed to carry the hope for all of them. Each night, Daniel lay awake, replaying the moment he'd seen Lauren, wondering if fate had given them a second chance. At family. One evening, as Lauren finished her shift, her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. The results are in. Her heart stilled, then raced. She called him immediately. I can pick you up, Daniel offered, his voice tight with anticipation. I'm at the restaurant, she replied, her hands trembling. 15 minutes later, Daniel's car pulled up. Lauren climbed in, her eyes immediately locking onto the white envelope in his hands. She clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. Would you like to open it, or should I tell you? Daniel asked, his voice gentle but strained. "Tell me," Lauren whispered, her eyes fixed on his dot. Daniel took a deep breath, his gaze steady. "Your sisters." Lauren pressed a hand to her mouth, a sob breaking free. Tears streamed down her cheeks as the weight of the words settled over her. She had never been alone. All those the